All right, welcome back to cloning, week 3, lesson 2, that's lesson 6. So today we are still talking about cloning. On Tuesday, we talked about the science of cloning in a very general way. Today we're going to talk about something kind of fun, cloning in science fiction, because it leads us to actual ethical questions about cloning. Remember that next week, on Wednesday, we are allegedly having a live class, as all classes are. Well, more details to come out. Check OnCampus announcements for more information. Mr. Mandring might come out with some more information as well, so keep your eye out for that. All right. Cloning, science and self. All right, who are you? That's the question. Who are you? So, Star Trek, let's imagine. On Star Trek, there's something called a transporter. All right, here's what happens. Captain Kirk is on a strange planet running for his life from a hostile life form. He opens his communicator and yells, "Beam me up, Scotty." He dematerializes on the planet and rematerializes on the ship. Or does he? All right, the transporter works by taking apart every atom in Captain Kirk's body, remembering the arrangement of all of those atoms, and then putting atoms back together on the ship in the same arrangement, but probably not the same actual atoms, right? So the transporter doesn't use the same atoms as Kirk's original body, so does it actually transport him, right? Does the transporter actually transport Captain Kirk, or does it kill him and make a new one? Sort of seems like a kill box, right? Right, I mean, like, all of the atoms that make up your body are now in a vaporized little pile on the planet, and new atoms are assembled into a new you, it seems like, right? Well, this gives us an interesting thing to think about, right? Are you just your atoms? Right, it seems like in Star Trek, Captain Kirk is still Captain Kirk even after he's transported. Now, we don't have this actual technology to disassemble a person and reassemble him, but the question that you need to answer is, are you your atoms? Is that who you are? If you say, who am I? I am the atoms that make me up, and that's it. That's a question. Think about that. Here's another one. The ship of Theseus. All right, the ship of Theseus goes something like this. All right, Theseus is a Greek hero who has a ship. He retires and his ship is parked in Athens. And it has it's made of 1,000 wooden parts, and that's it. And every year, one part gets replaced for maintenance. After 1,000 years, all the parts are different, but is it the ship of Theseus? Right? Well, all the parts are different, but, you know, if you replace one part, it's still the ship of Theseus. If you replace a couple hundred parts, it's probably still the ship of Theseus. So if it's not the ship of Theseus after you replace all the parts, when is it not the ship of Theseus? Right? It seems like repairing something doesn't make it not the thing. Right? If you cut off your hand and I give you a prosthetic hand, you're still you, right? You're not a new person, are you? Right? Well, if you cut off 51% of your body mass and replace it with mechanical parts, you're still you, right? You're not a new person, right? And so the ship of Theseus seems to survive the replacement of its parts. Things seem to have object permanence, that when you replace things' parts, they seem to still be the thing, right? Otherwise, every time you lose a skin cell, you're not you anymore. So, the ship of Theseus, are you just your parts? Is a real question. You might say, but Greek ships are not biological. Well, your stomach cells are replaced every 5 days. Your skin cells, every about 500 days, are completely replaced. Right, your bone cells, every 10 years, your entire skeleton is replaced. All right, you don't have any bones in you that you had when you were 5 years old. All of those cells are gone. All right, your brain cells replaced are not replaced, but the rest of all of your cells are replaced. All right, and you still seem like you're you. It's not as though every 10 years you are a truly different person. It's not as though every 5 days it's like, well, you replaced enough parts that you're no longer you, you're someone else. Right? It seems that people survive the replacement of their parts. An amputee is still the same person even though they have a metal leg instead of a flesh leg. Right? If you cut off both legs and both arms and replace them with metal, you've cut off half your body mass, but you're still you. All right. So if you are not then just your atoms or just your parts, what are you? What makes you you? If your atoms make you you, then every 5 days you're not you anymore. So surely it's not your atoms. Then what is it? What is it? You can click the link here in the slides and you can read an article about it. But let's ask the questions. Are you a biological ship of Theseus? Why? What makes you you? Why? All right. You can think about that for yourself. But I think the clear answer is there is something to being a human which is more than your parts. It seems like people are more than the sum of their parts. All right, if you assemble all the atoms in the right way to make a person, it won't be a person. All right, there's something about you which is animated. All right, I mean, for example, right, if you die, all of your cells are still there in the right arrangement, but you're not you because you're dead. All right, there's something beyond just your atoms. All right, and I would argue it's your soul. All right, the human soul answers the question. All right, what makes you you? If you get teleported and made of new atoms, how are you still you if all the atoms are different? Well, your soul is constant. All right, you're not just a body. People have a mind. They have the ability to understand things, the ability to grasp difficult concepts, the ability to communicate and connect with each other in a way that's beyond simply the function of atoms. All right, you're not simply a body. You are also a soul, all right, which means that you survive the changing of your parts. You can make a real argument that the ship of Theseus, after all of its parts are changed, is not the ship of Theseus. You can make that argument because none of the wood of the ship is still there. But it would be ridiculous to make the argument that I am not me in 10 years, even though all of my parts are changed, right? So there's something about living things which is different than objects, all right? And it seems to be, you can describe it lots of ways, but the soul, all right? That thing, in Latin, the anima, the thing which animates you, the thing which gives you life, all right, seems to be what separates you from just an object and seems to define, at least partly, who you are, right? You are not just your body, you're also like your soul, your mind, all right? Because if I kill you, your mind is not in your body. Your body's still there, but you're not you, right? Because you lack your mind. So, all of this to say, cloning, all right? Think about this. How does this information apply to cloning? If you are not just your atoms, all right, what would a clone of you be? Would it be you? Would it be someone else? All right, would it even be alive? Is it possible? All right, so I want you to think about those questions. We're going to talk more about it next week, probably next week. The schedule for next week is weird because it's Easter week. But you can go to OnCampus and you'll find a discussion board with questions about this. You find it in the assignments tab as usual. It's Holy Week. On the day you're watching this, if you're watching it on time, it's Holy Thursday. So take some time, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday to pray, right? You can't go to Mass. You can't go to confession. You can't have anointing of the sick if you're sick. You can't be baptized if you're unbaptized. You don't have access to the sacraments. But you should still take some time to pray and do your best to enter into Holy Week as Jesus did, right? Jesus actually suffered in Lent and actually suffered on Good Friday. And usually we're just sort of like remembering and celebrating that Jesus suffered and died for us. But now you get to, in some small way, to experience it, that you too get to suffer with Jesus on Good Friday. So take some time to think about that. And maybe it will help you enter into the joy of Easter somewhat more fully. All right. So homework, you can find on-campus assignments. It's due next Tuesday. I will see, well, next Wednesday, Thursday, just get it done by next week because of the weird schedule. So I'll see you next week. Good luck.